Hello, friends. Welcome to my under 5 minute devotion coming to you here. Planning on doing this on Tuesdays. I usually try to do this right at 10, and I'm 15 minutes late here. So I ask you forgiveness, but I don't think many people seek me out live anyway. But yeah, thanks for being here. I'm representing for, you can see, Wimpy's in Washington, Missouri. So, good place to get a hamburger. Used to have Brain Burgers there too, so that's a curious thing about them. They don't have it anymore. Never tried it, but I was thinking about the Pope, and I realize I'm a Protestant Christian, but the Pope has been in the news recently. His favorite place for pizza he's from the south side of Chicago was Aurelio's in Homewood, Illinois. I'd been there a couple of times. There were some folks in my church in Northwest Indiana that liked to go in there, and they brought me there. So I know Aurelio's, and we're still learning a lot about the Pope. And he seems like a quieter natured guy. And then to me, I appreciate his way of being. He doesn't seem like he necessarily has to have the spotlight or has to be involved in everything, but he's been in the news here over the last week or two about being a part of our national conversation about war and peacemaking and all of that. And, he doesn't seem to seek controversy, but yet he's kind of drawn into it. And particularly our national conversation about war and peace and all of that. And, he's reflecting, I think, Catholic doctrine about peacemaking. And we forget these things, like Pope John Paul II was against the Iraq war in the early 2000s. And we forget this, but the Pope is speaking out of his tradition and from our common faith, I think. And we forget this. I think that I think core to our Christian faith is putting away the sword and seeking peace. And we forget that. I think that's runs very contrary to our American spirit of not neglecting the sword, but embracing the sword and violence and war making. And I realize I'm probably making some people upset. No, I'm just saying these things. But and of course the Pope or Catholics, they have a long tradition of understanding just war theory, and that goes back centuries, and what makes for a just war. And there's certain criteria to say, okay, if you're going to be involved in war, here's ways to that if you have to do this, here's things that have to be a part of the picture. And so I would guess the Pope understands that as well too. But I thought about, let me pull up this verse from Proverbs. It says, a sensitive answer turns back wrath, but an offensive word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1. And that's the Common English Bible. And I think about, in my years of ministry, how much I've appreciated people who can, even church meetings can be tense, but can kind of speak a word of wisdom, a gentle word of wisdom, and draw the meeting back towards a peaceful resolution. And I've seen that through the years. And those people are the heroes to me, when the people who can draw out peace instead of just inflaming the fires of disagreement. And I think maybe that's true too for our national and international stage too. The people that can, let me pull it back to you again, who can turn back wrath and not stir up anger. We need to cherish those people and value those people and encourage those qualities in our leaders. And I value that as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, who invited Peter to put away his sword and said, turn the other cheek, and all of that. That's very much deep and a part of our faith. So let us embrace that in whatever way that we can, and however we can embrace peacemaking in this world. May we be people who embrace that and bring peace. So go and make peace whatever way you can today. So peace to you all. Thanks for being with me now. Bye-bye now.